Welcome back to the Crypto in Real Life podcast. This is our 8th podcast, and this is for the week of May 15th to 2022. We're talking about news in crypto and investing and other things that are happening. So, a trend I've noticed recently is that gaming companies are getting into NFTs. So, NFTs are what really blew up last year and are kind of not as popular as they were. A lot of the trade volumes on some of these big NFT exchanges have gone down, but they're still popular and are probably important for certain vehicles and certain ways of using it. I think gaming NFTs in particular have a lot of promise, not necessarily crypto gaming projects solely for NFTs like Axie Infinity and Illuvium. I don't believe in those necessarily, but I do believe NFTs for games in general. Anyways, Square sold some huge franchises in order to fund their new NFT gaming projects. Stuff like Avengers and Tomb Raider, so mostly Western franchises that they owned. What do you think about the likes of Atari, Sega, Square Enix, and Ubisoft getting into this space? What do you think it'll pay off, or do you think it's they're getting into it too late?
I think it depends on like what they're doing exactly. Do you have like specifics on
There's not
the stuff?
specifics what they're doing with it, but they're using these funds to fund a crypto project. Don't know
I
the
see.
specifics yet.
Um, if they're doing if they're not utilizing it within the game, then it's pointless.
Right.
So basically, if they're making it to where, oh, now there's whenever you buy a loot box, you get NFTs of these items that you can then trade to people, that would be good.
hmm
But if it's just like like you're buying a JPEG, then no.
No, I don't think that's the point. I think the JPEGs are just the first iteration of what NFTs are. I think the idea would be, and there's already, the Axie Infinity and the Liviums are doing this, where when you buy an NFT, you actually buying something that's represented in a game. So I believe the point of it is like if you have a Final Fantasy, say you want to make an online Final Fantasy game, and then there's NFTs like you earn a weapon or whatever. I would imagine it's something like that.
Okay. Well, then yeah, I think that'd be a good use for it, and I mean, it seems like that's kind of like the future for NFTs in gaming. So, you know, I don't really see. I see it paying off.
Right. I think it will. I think it's kind of surprising they're willing to sell off these big franchises to do it. That shows to me that they have a lot of faith in it and they think it'll be successful. So I guess they like the model, which is telling, and it gets me a little excited because I don't get excited about the NFTs, the gaming projects specific to the crypto space. Like those just they look like crap and they don't look very fun from a gameplay perspective. But if you actually have a company that's made games and is a big company already that are going to integrate NFTs into their games, that seems like a much better way, better use case for it.
Right. Yeah. Don't make a game around crypto. Just put crypto into a game. You know.
Right, yeah. I think a lot of companies are just making games with the NFT fad in mind.
Right. Yeah.
And they're not making a game with the idea of, hey, we're going to plug this into it to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Like I said before, like I love the new Halo game. I think it would make a lot of sense to, like whenever you earn, in-game stuff, like you get this, you could resell it on the open market or keep it or whatever you want to do. Those could be NFTs. I think those little, basically you earn JPEGs on Steam when you beat achievements or whatever, and you could actually sell those on their marketplace. That'd be cool if those are actually NFTs.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah. I
little
think.
cards or whatever.
Yeah, the little cards. I think that'd be a good use for it too.
Yeah, because Steam's kind of already been doing that with the Team Fortress. I mean, you could buy stuff and sell stuff on that marketplace. It really just NFTs are just expanding the idea and making it to where it's more tradable with a lot of other assets and more decentralized, essentially.
Right.
I would be interested to know what company they end up going with to handle, or what blockchain they use to handle their NFTs.
Yeah. That,
That would be
I don't even know what they would use.
right. I don't either. So that'll be interesting to see. Anyways, I thought it was kind of a big deal that they were willing to do that. So sell off a big franchise like that. The other, I mean, this is big news. Terra Luna, which we talked about last week, talking about how interesting it was that they bought Bitcoin. Well, it utterly crashed this week in an epic fashion. The price I put down here, this was a couple days ago, went from $80 to 2 cents. Now it's even less than that. It's like 0.00003 cents or something. And the USD price is at like it's at like 15 cents. So it's even less than that 37 cents right there. So it's even crashed even harder. And it actually hurt the Bitcoin price because they had purchased some Bitcoin and then they liquidated that Bitcoin at a time when Bitcoin was already kind of hurting. And it made Bitcoin go down even more. And that's because they had already bought it and then they had to sell it to try to provide liquidity to these chains, to the stablecoin. So Bitcoin kind of got caught in the crossfire here, and it hurt its price pretty bad as well. But Bitcoin has kind of recovered from that. It went all the way down to like 25,000, but now it's sitting at about 30,000. But Terra has not recovered.
How much Bitcoin was sold off?
It was something like, I think, $3 billion.
Wow.
$3 billion worth.
So was it that action alone that caused Bitcoin to go down so much? Or
that was a big catalyst. I won't think
Okay.
it's the only factor, but I think it definitely did not help. Like, it probably wouldn't have went down to 25,000. It probably would have not done quite as bad. There was it definitely didn't help. That's for
Right.
sure. It
So,
was
like,
pretty bad event.
and I'm sure it also triggered people to sell their stuff too, which it caused like a chain reaction.
Right, yeah. People were like freaking out. Like, oh, and then the Bitcoin price is going down. Oh, and then everybody starts selling. And they caused sell-offs across the entire space. A lot of people got freaked out by that. And a lot of people lost savings. I mean, I saw people on Twitter who tweeted that they had every dollar that they owned in Terra. And if that's actually true, that means they lost their entire life savings.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. It'd be a
No,
nightmare.
And I remember looking at it, and it had gone up, and I remember thinking about it and looking at it, just trying to understand it. I couldn't quite fully understand it, and it seemed weird to me. I was like, there's a token called Terra Luna or whatever, and then there's the Terra USD, and how it worked basically is, as people put their dollars into the Terra USD, the Terra Luna price goes up, and it creates these like little arbitrage opportunities where Luna can pump into USD if it needs to make it $1, and then USD can pump into Luna to make it go up. And like there's like this weird way that they play together, and to keep the price at $1 supposedly, and then that didn't happen. You know, that's what happened. It depegged from the stable dollar that it was supposed to do. And then once the confidence was broken, a lot of people started taking money out of Terra USD, the stablecoin, and that caused a chain reaction to where Luna was trying to get it back to be pegged, and it was just not possible, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And anyways, there was about, I think, 6 trillion Luna minted. Like, it basically hyperinflated because there was this huge run on the Luna bank, if that makes sense.
Now, okay, like hypothetically, if no one had sold like their Terra USD,
Yeah.
would it have caused it to crash the way it did?
I don't think so.
Okay. So it was just from the depegging, like it would have been able to recover from that.
Think of it like this. This is the way I think about it, to simplify things. Think about Terra Luna as like the Federal Reserve. It has the ability to pump money into the USD, into the stable dollar. And so as the value was going down, because people, and it depegged, it started this chain reaction, people freaking out, people taking more out. And then Luna's printing more Luna to try to pump up the Terra USD price, which is in turn hurting the price of Luna, which is basically what happens whenever there's printing of dollars. So it was like a run on the bank, and then they printed a bunch of money, Luna money, to try to do it, try to take care of it, and it didn't work out. It's basically, I would call this a Ponzi scheme, kind of a classic Ponzi scheme. It just happened to get really, really large, and it succeeded at being a Ponzi for longer than it should have. Because it was dependent on people not taking their money out.
Right, because if people lose confidence in it and they take their money out, then
it causes this spiral.
But okay,
that's what a Ponzi does. That's what happens in a Ponzi.
Right. But okay, like a regular bank, and everybody can't take their money out of the bank either, you know?
Well, you can argue our system is sort of a Ponzi. You can argue that the dollar, the banking system, it's just there's a lot of trust in it, and people just kind of accept it. But it's true, if everybody took the money out of the bank, that would cause that bank to go out of business.
Right, and a bunch of people would. Well, I think we have like regulations and stuff where it's like safeguarded. But if we didn't, then people would be out of money.
And that used to be that. It used to not have that safeguard, and it used to happen quite a bit. That happened in the Great Depression. There were run-on banks, and a lot of banks went under.
Yeah,
and people lost their life savings like this.
So, like, well, I mean, why don't? I guess like. What's the difference between like a bank and a Ponzi scheme? I don't know. And like, is there a difference? There has to be some sort of technical difference.
Well, they are offering a service, so it's not a scam.
Right. Okay.
It is sort of a Ponzi scheme to a degree.
Well, the bank also isn't. Well, they do like guarantee you like interest or whatever.
Well, Luna did too. They guaranteed 20% a year.
Well, that's insane.
That should tell you it's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Scam, more like it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a scam. I don't know if it was intentional.
It's hard to say.
What I'm saying, though, is if everybody took their money out of a bank, then that bank would go under.
Yes.
So it's got Ponzi economics involved in it to a degree. But it's not necessarily a scam because they are offering some products that are useful. And it's more reasonable, too. It's not saying we'll give you 20%.
And I would, like, a Ponzi scheme is in bad faith. A bank is not in bad faith.
No, and well, I mean, I agree with you, but you could argue that Terra wasn't in bad faith. They thought they were doing something good.
Right.
You could argue that.
I guess there could be Ponzi schemes where they think they're doing something. That's true.
There's varying degrees of it. Because there was, some thought put into it. It was just not sustainable. Because of 20% payouts is ridiculous. It requires new money. You have to keep getting new money in.
I think
whenever you have to get new money,
kind of makes it a Ponzi scheme where you're constantly searching for more investors.
But that's what banks are too, Clint. Banks do require new money. They have to keep getting money in.
Like, so if they didn't have any new clients, they would go out of business that way too.
If they didn't have money coming in, well, we have regulations now. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what makes it better. It's like a regulated banking product. which all kind of have Ponzi economics to it. It's also like saying, Social Security is a Ponzi. A lot of people say that too. Because it kind of is, because it requires taxpayers to pay into it to pay off the other people. That's sort of the same thing with banks. It requires people to keep their money in order to pay off other people. And it requires, because they give out loans and stuff, and they don't actually have all the money that they're saying you have. They don't actually have it all technically there. But what helps keep it from going under is the government forces banks to have a required amount of dollars actually in their reserves. So they have to have, I think it's like 30% of whatever their stated bank accounts are. They have to actually have that in cash at all times. But if it was ever a point in time where 31% of the money was taken out, they'd be screwed.
Right.
I mean, so you can argue it's a Ponzi. I don't know. I mean, but it's not. I guess it's like a. What's the word?
A bank can't pull the rug out from under you.
Right. Yeah. It's not as bad. It's sort of an understood Ponzi that everybody's okay with.
Right.
I mean, you could argue the Federal Reserve is a Ponzi because it just keeps printing money, and that's how it keeps bailing stuff out.
Yeah.
You could argue that, but it's kind of stupid because they're in power, and that's sort of the system that's being propagated. Which I think it's good that if you're going to have banks doing this kind of stuff where they can lend your money out, you need it to be regulated because it is kind of scary that you can have a run on a bank. And if you didn't have it regulated, or at least some of the money guaranteed, that would be kind of scary.
Yeah, I think like banks are a situation where regulation is.
Right. Yeah, I think they definitely need it. And that's sort of why a lot of people are saying this was kind of a good thing because it's going to get the government to regulate stable coins quicker.
Yeah.
And maybe force them to act more like a bank.
Yeah.
Because this was... They didn't have
would
any...
be a positive outcome.
They didn't have any U.S. dollars backing it at all.
I mean, I feel like if it's called Terra USD, you probably should have some.
Do what again? Oh, like yeah.
USD's in the name.
The other ones are Tether and USDC are supposedly backed 1-to-1 with dollars. Supposedly. I don't really know if that's true or not, but they're supposed to be. But they keep their peg much better.
Well, they were backing it up with Bitcoin, and then they had to sell it all.
Well, they bought it just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
And also I've heard there's some Bitcoin unaccounted for. As in, there's still some Bitcoin in their name, in the Terra Luna Foundation's name. So this could have been a scheme to steal a bunch of Bitcoin.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's very strange. I think either that or they were trying to peg it to something. But for a stable dollar to be stable, because Bitcoin's not stable, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Yep. Well,
they got depegged and then it pegged everyone else.
Got wrecked. Oh yeah, there was a guy who got a Luna tattoo, by the way, 2 weeks ago. And he was a big CEO of like a big crypto company. And people know him really well. Mike Novogratz is his name. And he got a Luna tattoo 2 weeks ago. I guess he feels like an idiot.
Yeah, he must.
God. Ridiculous. Okay, here's some other news regarding the Elon Twitter stuff. So, according to Elon, he would reinstate Trump if he actually purchases Twitter, which still, there's been some stuff that he said recently makes us think that he's not actually going to do it. He said, like, do you actually have 300 million users, or are half your users bots? Like, do you actually have as many users as you claim you do? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw that where apparently the deal's been put on hold while they investigate how many users there actually are.
It's probably not as many as they say.
Yeah, I mean,
There's tons of bots.
I think Elon knows that there's way more bots than Twitter has been reporting.
Yeah. I think it's just... Sorry, go ahead.
If he proves that, then... Like, if they were, like, doing it purposely, then they've been, like, defrauding the shareholders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Definitely true. I mean, that's why PayPal got into a lot of scrutiny recently, is because some of their users turned out to be bots, basically. And they were being created to take advantage of this $10 back offer that they were doing. So somebody spun up a bunch of fake users just to try to get $10 on PayPal.
PayPal didn't realize they were all fake.
Not till now.
Wow.
Yeah. So bots are a real problem.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this? I think you do, right?
Agree with what?
Bringing Trump back.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yep. Jack Dorsey mentioned on Twitter that he agreed that permanent bans are wrong. So he's on board with Elon.
First, I don't trust Jack Dorsey at all. But, I mean, I'm glad he's giving me lip service now.
I think his hands were tied. He couldn't be. He wasn't he only had 2% of the company.
But now, when it's convenient, he comes out and says this stuff. He never said this stuff ever.
Well, he was the CEO of Twitter. He had a muzzle on, and he said that. He has said that publicly.
I don't know. I don't trust him.
Well, he said that. He said, "I realized that I haven't been able to do the right thing, and that I haven't been able to say what I wanted to say because I was at Twitter. That's why I left." He has said that. So
I mean, I feel like I don't think he's like some evil guy or anything, but I think he could have done more.
Well, yeah, he was complicit in it.
Yeah,
I'm not denying that, but I do think he actually think what Twitter's doing is wrong. So at least there's that. Is my point. Should there ever be permabans? Ever?
No, I don't think so.
Even, we'll say Osama bin Laden was alive and he had a Twitter. Let him do it. Let him be on Twitter.
And I'd rather him be on Twitter than not. That way we can see what he's saying.
That's true. That's true. I agree. I think that's probably a good point. But if he is using it to mobilize people, that could be a bad thing.
Well, if you're using it in that way, then yeah, you should probably be banned for doing that.
Well, then...
But that wouldn't... I mean, but I think you could argue that you might not need to do it permanently. But,
yeah, maybe like, yeah, you can't talk for a while.
Yeah.
Well, some people are arguing that's what Trump did. They were inciting bias at the Capitals.
I don't know. It's ridiculous, but... Whatever.
Do you think Trump will post again?
On Twitter?
Yeah.
I think he'll come back to it. Yeah.
The True Social site, have you been on it at all?
No.
Nobody's going to go to it. Nobody. That's the thing. Twitter's already won the short form content.
I know. It's
they're
like,
the monopoly.
I think it's good. I think it's good what he's doing though, because I mean, if Elon didn't buy Twitter, like I mean, you need more than just one monopoly on this.
I mean, I agree. I mean, there will probably be more competition, but I think it's good that Elon is buying Twitter, and I don't know if he's actually going to though. He keeps saying. I mean, you just never know with him.
I've heard some theories that this was all just an attempt to expose Twitter.
Well, he's done a good job of that.
Yeah, and that he's willing to lose that $1 billion. Like, he factored that in. That basically, he's spending $1 billion to expose Twitter. That's what a theory I've heard.
Well, they'll just all deny it.
Yeah. Because, you know, they have the $1 billion breakup fee.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm referring to.
Well,
if he backs out of the deal, he has to pay $1 billion.
I have no idea why he wants to buy Twitter anyways. Like, it's not a good company.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a crappy company to begin with. Um,
in terms of from a business perspective.
but how many? I see. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many users they have, how much reach they have, and all that.
They have like over 300 million supposedly, and I mean they're a big platform. I just don't see how you monetize it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I
Like
think that's
Facebook,
the
I see more,
problem.
but
And really, I think the best way to do it is to have like premium memberships or something where you get something out of it. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. I'm glad to see that Trump coming back because I think he's regardless how you feel about it, it's unfair to keep him off of it. I thought this was kind of interesting. Jack Dorsey, and I don't know if you knew, but he's like a big Bitcoin person now.
Yeah.
Him and Elon Musk are teaming up with Blockworks to start a solar Bitcoin mining operation. And Tesla's involved because they're going to use their solar power panels and stuff. So it's going to use some of Tesla's technology. And Adam Back is the leader or CEO of Blockworks, and he was the inventor of Hashcash. Remember we spoke about that before. So one of the
Yeah.
precursors to Bitcoin. So it's kind of interesting that his name is popping up. I might have misspelled that. It might be Blockstream, not Blockworks. Whatever the name of the company is. And Tesla's is it's like this big 3.8 megawatt solar PV array and some kind of mega pack, which I think will help to power the facility. So that's just some technical details. The purpose of the venture is to utilize solar energy and to show that Bitcoin mining can be energy efficient. Because a lot of the bad news out there is that Bitcoin mining is terrible for the environment because people use unsustainable energy to mine Bitcoin. But I think one of the reasons why they're doing it is to show that it can be energy efficient. It's actually good for the environment because you're utilizing energy in it basically it creates demand for energy, which you want cheap energy, and cheap energy a lot of times can be sustainable.
Right.
Do you think much will come of this, or do you think this is more of a publicity stunt?
I mean, I think something will come out of it.
I think it's
Like, we'll
kind
have
of,
to see.
I think it's like really cool to think that. I think it's, and there's also some developments with some of the gas companies like BP and I think Shell are all starting to mine Bitcoin as well with excess energy that they have. So it's kind of cool to see bigger companies getting into it.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think so too. So because there's also all these mining companies that are devoted just to mining, but this is like people using it to help augment their business.
Right. Which it's like a more natural use of it.
Yeah, and the way I can see it kind of forming in the future is companies like, oh, I got some excess energy. Well, let's just make some Bitcoin. And that's kind of where I was going with, Henry Ford talking about, energy money and that's energy currencies and that sort of thing. That's kind of what his dream was, I think, was to have a currency that is backed by energy, and the energy represents the currency. And that's kind of what Bitcoin is. So it's kind of cool to see how that will develop.
Yeah, I think it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I also could see it at like less countries that have trouble, who don't make a whole lot of GDP, like countries in Africa could potentially use some kind of their infrastructure to create Bitcoin, and it also would give them incentive to improve their infrastructure, energy infrastructure, to help create Bitcoin, and that'd be a source of revenue for them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it always that's the cool thing about Bitcoin is it gives anybody, any company, any country a source of revenue that they may not have.
Right.
And I think it's sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of like selling energy like back to the power company a little bit. It's like what it seems like.
Yeah, it's just converting energy into Bitcoin, which is in demand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is sort of like what you're saying though. But instead of selling it back to the power company, you could, try to make Bitcoin with it.
Right.
I think it's kind of cool and interesting to see the mining space grow. Okay, so we talked about this last week, but we're definitely in a bear market for sure. At least from what I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen this as well, but the sentiment on the internet seems to be absolutely terrible for crypto and stocks lately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This is something, I mean, I don't, like, I get that the Federal Reserve has a lot of control, and when they set the interest rates, it's like traders just totally change on a dime. They're like, okay, interest rates are going up, okay, let's do this. Interest rates are going down, okay, let's do this. And it almost seems like the Federal Reserve directs the entire economy almost, which seems kind of crazy. And it also seems weird, like, if you own a company that you think is going to do well, why sell it simply based off of an interest rate? I don't really get it.
I don't really get it either. The only thing I could think of is maybe they're just going off of like historical data.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they get paranoid and they think, oh, we got to redo everything and rethink everything. It goes against everything that I guess they're not really investing in it from like, this is a company I want to own. They're doing it based off of indicators and data, I guess, and so they're willing to rotate a lot.
It seems like it's more of a technical kind of thing.
Right, and I guess I do see, like, if interest rates are rising, that means bonds become more attractive. Well, but bonds sold off surprisingly, which made no sense at all. So, but typically that means bonds become more attractive, and also that usually means since there's less money in the market, more risk-off assets become more attractive. So that's seems to be what we're in right now.
Yeah.
What do you do to keep like your head straight during this? Do you like freak out, or how do you feel okay? How do you get yourself to be okay with putting more money into it?
Well, I only look at the market whenever I'm like putting money in. So for me, I invest like once a month. So I don't look at it any during the month, because if I do, it's just going to drive me crazy.
You don't check it every hour?
No. I check it once a month. And I think that's the best way. And if you're long-term investing, I think that's the best way to do it, because otherwise you're going to like psych yourself out into doing something stupid.
Have you pivoted your strategy at all since the bear market?
I've gone towards, really, I look for stuff that's, if it's a good company and it's really low, like going down a lot, and it's got a good PE, then it's usually like I pick it up, at least a little bit of it.
So and you've changed more into technical, like tech companies.
Yeah, I'm mainly, because I mean those are the ones that are like have a good deal right now. So
yeah,
a lot of tech companies, and yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I thought this was a good quote by Warren Buffett. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful. Regardless of what you think about it, that's a smart statement.
Yeah.
So, it's easy to be fearful when everybody else is fearful. It's easy to be greedy when everybody else is greedy, because it's the psychology of it. When things are going up, it's easy to put money in. When things are going down, it's a lot harder to. And it becomes more tempting to sell.
But I wouldn't invest in stuff that's crazy risky. You know, I would go for stuff that you know is solid.
Right. I agree with you. Yes, yeah. It can't just be based off up and down. It's got to be... I mean, if you have some riskier stuff, that's fun. I definitely do. But that shouldn't be your main investment. You should mostly invest, like I would say like 90% at least, invest in stuff that's pretty pretty rock solid. You know,
yeah.
That you know is going to be around in 5 to 10 years.
Right.
And I thought this graph did a really good job of displaying market sentiment. So you put money in, you're like, oh, I'm so excited. Oh, this is going up. This is amazing. And then you go really high, and you're like, fuck, I'm smart. I'm so smart. Starts to come down. You're like, oh, you get a little anxious. And then you get denial. Then you get afraid. Then you get desperation. And then you panic. And then you capitulate. You sell. You be stupid. And then you go, how could I have been so wrong? And then you go through, and then then it goes back up, and then you feel optimistic again. I think I was trying to look at this graph, and I think we're definitely. I think we're beyond fearful. I think we're at the capitulation stage.
I think we're in capitulate or panic. One of the two.
I don't think it's at bottom quite yet, but we're in that area, I would say.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's nice when things go up, though.
Yeah, gives you a little endorphin rush.
That's right. That's right. Is there anything else you want to talk about? That's all I had for today.
No, I don't have anything else.
Awesome. Thanks for listening. If you listen to us all the way through, we appreciate it. Please like and comment and subscribe. And we'll talk again next time.
See you.